All right, let me go ahead and shoot this over a bit. Hey, everybody. Freddie Lee Jones, third Gritty Ones Productions, in the official green room. Bam. Gritty Ones Productions. As you can see, I got my Da Vinci Code poster chilling out in the back. Got some of my Air Force memorabilia here, right there. So let's go ahead and break down and get into the movie Us, which is the Jordan Peele juggernaut, because I mean this movie is about to make some crazy loot. Uh, Us. It stars Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss. Um, so, what is Us about? And again, on Movies on the Run, you all know how we rate. We do everything by a running by running distances. So it's either 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, or the crazy ultra. That's how I rate my films. Now, what is Us about? Us is about family, the Wilson family, going on a summer vacation home to Santa Cruz. Big up to Santa Cruz and the boardwalk uh, and whatnot. And it turns into a home invasion movie, but it's a home invasion committed by their doppelgangers, which is crazy in itself because one, you don't believe what's happening because it's home invasion. Number two, you don't believe that it's happening because the people look exactly like you. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Again, we keep it spoiler free here at Movies on the Run, and we're going to try to go ahead and make it as short, sweet, and to the point as possible. So, let's go ahead and just jump into what I liked about it. First of all, everything. There are a few things that I didn't like about it. Excuse me, but I did see it twice. So I saw it twice in one day. So that kind of maybe kind of led to the nitpicks that I will have for my dislikes. But as always, we're gonna go with the. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do the dislikes. The dislikes. I will say this. It kind of ran a little bit long, or it felt like it was running long. So with that being said, kind of prepare yourself. My wife and I, we saw the first showing, and then me and my homeboy Max, we saw the last showing same night. So it wasn't. I will say this probably wasn't enough for me to kind of digest and kind of marinate on. But me and the old lady had like discussions from the time we left the 1:30 show up until the time I left to go see the 10 o'clock show that night. So I mean, it was a good little amount of time to kind of jump into it. But you know, for a person like myself who enjoys talking about movies, it was enough. So let's go ahead and talk about what I liked about it. Well, actually, that actually kind of sums up really my dislike about it was that it just kind of felt a little bit long. So let's jump into the likes. Cinematography, direction, acting, score. Just the fact, just to know the fact that I was actually living close to Santa Cruz when this movie probably was being shot and didn't know anything about it. And I was like, man, I want to beat myself up for that. But I mean, it is what it is. And, the fact that, it's not too many movies where, unless being from New Orleans, like you can always tell, oh man, I know where that is. I know where that is. But to actually see a movie that's not shot in Atlanta, not shot in New Orleans, LA, New York, Canada, but but a movie that was shot in California, that was literally 2 hours away from my house, back where we lived at. So with that being said, location was amazing. I will say this though, I never seen the boardwalk that clean. I will say that. I mean, it's clean, but it wasn't Hollywood clean. So that was actually pretty funny to see, and to kind of point out neighborhoods like every time we went out there, we always drove around, Santa Cruz. Like we would literally spend like an hour and a half, just kind of driving around just to kind of get more of the Santa Cruz lifestyle and whatnot. Um, and what was so funny was, again, just kind of like we moved from Cali, but to see Cali again, like on the screen, I was like, man, that was actually pretty dope to see. Um, Secondly, uh, what else did I love about it? I mean, well, actually, let me just go down the list. I mean, obviously the score, and if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman that did the score, this is his second time doing a score, and I think his first score was Get Out. So obviously, this dude has potential. Jordan Peele knows how to pick him. Um, and the fact that this movie, let me see what the budget was like, because I think the budget was like super low. Um, Give me a quick second. Yes, let's go ahead and leave this page. Okay. Man, look, did I not call it a juggernaut? I did call it a juggernaut in the beginning. Why? Because this movie has made $70 million, if I'm not mistaken. It's crossed over $70 million, and the movie only cost $20 million to make. So it has tripled and then some its money, and it had little marketing. Like there were a lot of previews, but a lot of the previews showed the exact same thing, which I thought was cool. Um, I did appreciate the fact that they didn't show a lot in the trailers. I thought that was brilliant of them not to do, because we do suffer from a time where everybody wants to show everything in the trailer. Pet Cemetery, we're looking at you. So um, I love the fact of the doppelgangers. I love the story about the doppelgangers. I love how the doppelgangers came to be. Again, without spoiling it, this movie is like one of those films, and I know everybody who's watching this, and I feel like I'm like late to the game doing my review, but at the same time, like people, when you see this movie, you need to see this movie twice. There's so many references, and there's biblical references. There's social commentary. Um, there's not a I don't want to say race, but and that wasn't what I was looking for. But there's biblical, there's social commentary. Um, it's a true like psychological thriller, if with a little bit of you know added dose of horror. Like it's almost like this soup, or matter of fact, let's call it a cake. This is a horror cake, and you add a little bit of ingredients here. You follow the recipe, but you add a little bit more. So instead of you using imitation vanilla, you get your vanilla from Mexico. Instead of using regular store-bought eggs, you get some cage-free straight out at the farmer's market. For those of you living in Cali, go ahead and hit up Davis's farmer's market every Saturday. Um, Instead of you using store-bought icing, you create your own icing. And instead of using frozen fresh fruits, aka the strawberries that used to be down on Walters, right off of Walters Road in Sassoon City, you get your own strawberries. And when you put this beautiful cake together, you decorate it, and it's all nice. Yes, there are going to be some things that you will not like about this film, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to love this film. That's okay. But the thing that this film will do, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, the film gets you to think. It makes you think. It makes you have a discussion, which is what movies are lacking these days. As a film student, I understand where he is coming from, where a lot of us are coming from, because we look at it as a point to where, you know what, movies don't make you think no more. Like it's literally, you go in 2 3 hours, you come out, oh man, that was good. Oh yeah, I like this part, I like that part. But hell, by the time you get in that car, you've been done talking about it. Like I said before, me and the wife talked about this movie for almost 9 hours. Almost 9 hours. And then when I came home, like we talked about it some more for about another hour. So technically, we almost talked about this thing for 10 hours. And we still talking about it. We saw it Friday. Today is Sunday, 9:30, March something, 24th. And 3 days later, we still talking about this movie. That's what I find so awesome about what Jordan Peele did with this film. Now, one thing that I know people are going to do, give me a quick second, got to take a snowball break from Pelicans Snowball, so make sure you go check them out. For those of you all that want to know, Experiment and French Vanilla. When you go see this film, if I can ask one thing, please do not compare this film to Get Out. Please don't compare this film to um, any other home invasion movie, because the thing is, nowadays we've gotten so much stuff, and we get to a point to where we want to compare every single movie to something else. What happened to the interpretation of what the artist wants you to think, as opposed to saying, "Oh man, that's just like this." Yes, there. I can tell you this: there are parts of uh, us that I've seen, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that kind of reminded me of this movie, but you can still go cookie cutter. But then, like I said, you can kind of veer out the cookie cutter and then come back, and that's why this movie is so phenomenal, because it is, to a degree, the regular run of the mill home invasion movie, but it's also like a government conspiracy movie. It's also like a in a way, it's kind of like a family movie, and it's comedy, and the comedy and the horror go hand in hand. It's like this beautiful little marriage, man. It's like there's points in there where I thought every joke stuck, and what kills me is like when people say, "Oh man, why are they making jokes at this moment?" Because sometimes you think to say something funny to kind of lighten the mood because of the fact that you don't know what you would do in that situation. You can't be all serious. You can't be all scared. And I love that. Uh, the cast. Oh my God. For the cast to go from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum and give you two totally different performances in one movie is phenomenal. Case in point, Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. A lot of people do not talk about this film. Michael Keaton, if I'm not mistaken, played four versions of himself. He played his regular self, and like the other three clones of himself had to play, like one was just like dumb, one was real cocky and real arrogant, and the other one was real sensitive. So it was funny how he played all four of these parts extremely different. And when all four of them show up on the screen, you can immediately tell them apart as far as like their personalities. And that's what I loved about us, was the fact that these people are the main actors are playing dual roles, and they're on two completely ends of the spectrum. Um, and I thought that was just amazing. Let me see what else did I love about it. Oh, here's another thing: the fact that when you take a film like this, there were so many things that could go wrong. Uh, One was the acting. One thing that it could have been non-convincing. The one main thing that I loved about the main actors, and I love the fact that using a small cast to kind of, you don't have to have everybody named Mama in the film, and I love that. And the fact that you have a small cast, it's almost, if I'm not mistaken, let me see, it's four and four. Yeah, technically, you really had like eight main characters, really. And if you even want to stretch it out, you had 10 characters, I'm sorry, 11 characters. Well, 12 actually, yeah. But everyone did their job, and it seemed like everything was just made so flawless. I don't know if that's Mr. Peele's directing style to make everything as comfortable and relaxed as possible. I don't know if, obviously that's the actors. I mean, hell, you got Elizabeth Moss. from Handmaid's Tale. Most of y'all know her from Mad Men. You got, like I said, Lupita Nyong'o. Never saw 12 Years a Slave, but I do remember her from Black Panther, just like Winston Duke. Remember him from Black Panther. And even like the way that they convey emotion without even saying anything. And these are from the dual roles. Uh, that was phenomenal in itself. Um, Let me see what else did I love. Oh, I gotta ask one question. How many of y'all right now can listen to I Got Five on It now and not get creeped up? The How did you take a song about weed and then you're gonna creep it out so much to where it's unnerving? And then don't forget, actually, no, that goes in the spoiler territory. I can't tell you about that. I was about to slip up. I was about to slip up. I don't know if it was the snowballs, the pelican snowballs. But all in all jokes aside, this movie is phenomenal. I know I was said I was going to try to keep it short, sweet, to the point, but at the same time, man, this movie is so good. Um, so with that being said, I gotta give it. I gotta give it the crazy ultra. I give it a 5 out of 5. That's my recommendation. It's a 5 out of 5. Yes, there are some things that I did not like about it, but it's nitpicky, and that's why I still give it the perfect score because these are the type of movies that I am trying to make, that I will be making in the upcoming future. All right, everybody. Freddie Lee Jones III. Thank you all for joining live. Those of you all that showed up. Freddie Lee Jones III. Gritty Ones Productions out.